See the flowers out front? That is because this Sunday is going to be, it's our All Saints Day service, our service of remembrance. We remember the people that passed away from the church or connected with the church during the course of the year. I think we had 2 church members, Gene Butler and Cecil Sampson passed away this year, and we have lots of sisters and brothers and parents and things like that. So there'll be a lot of people talking about that, and it's important on All Saints Day to recognize the saints, the people who have gone on before us. We had recently in the Catholic Church, you probably saw that we have a couple of new saints, right, canonized, and we have 2 from upstate New York, one from Utica, Marian Kopp, I guess her name is, who worked with lepers and has been declared a saint by the church, and also the young Indian girl who was martyred back in the, I guess the 17th century, or 18th century maybe, from down in Fonda. And we think about saints, a lot of times we think of saints that have their names on churches, right? You know, you have St. John, St. Peter, all the disciples, St. John, St. Peter, St. Andrew, St. Thomas. We have people who maybe were big leaders in the church or converted places, St. Patrick, St. David, St. Joseph, the father of Jesus. We have all sorts of people who get the designation of saint, right? We think about those people from time to time, but you know, we don't sometimes appreciate the invisible saints. The saints around us who we don't see, the people who are following God's word, who are responding to God, who are every much a saint as the people who have big buildings named after them, right? And so I thought we'd think a little bit this morning about, or this evening about, the invisible saints. In our gospel, we had a lot of the well-known saints were there with Jesus, St. John and St. Peter and St. Thomas, all the disciples. And yet, how many of us think about St. Bartimaeus, right? St. Bartimaeus is the beggar. No, I don't think anyone's ever canonized him. I don't think there's anybody who ever calls him St. Bartimaeus, but I'll call him that. The blind beggar along the side of the road. Now, over the last few weeks, we've been going through the Gospel of Mark and talking about Jesus' march from where he was transfigured to Jerusalem. And this is the last stop. He's at Jericho. He's 15 miles from Jerusalem. And the crowd has been following him, it's been gaining momentum. The disciples have been following along with him. And all the way the disciples have been asking him questions, and none of them seem to quite understand who he is. Nobody gets it. Nobody really understands. They're all worried about who's going to be in the kingdom, who's going to sit at his left hand, who's going to be the greatest, how do I get to be there? All of those kinds of things. And yet none of them really recognize Jesus for who he is. He tells them over and over again, and yet they do not hear it. So as Jesus is in Jerusalem, he is leaving Jericho, and he's heading for Jerusalem, and there's Jesus, and there are his disciples all around him, and a huge crowd. You know, hundreds of people marching down the street. Can you picture that? This huge crowd of people marching down the street. And there, off to the side, by himself, is the blind beggar. Right? Thousands and hundreds of people marching along, this one guy off by himself. And so often in life, we might just tend to walk right by that invisible person, right? That one person sitting along the side of the road, the beggar. So many times we go through life and we don't see the people around us. We don't appreciate who they are. We see the person who is the beggar on the side of the road, and we just see him as beggar, homeless person. We forget that they're somebody's kid, right? They're somebody's brother or sister. They're somebody's father, right? We don't see them. We walk right by them and we ignore them as if they were invisible. And it's not just the homeless people. It's the people who serve you the cup of coffee in the diner. It's the person who checks you out at Walmart. They're just like part of the furniture. And you forget that lady who's checking you out. She's got 2 kids at home. She's been working 2 jobs. We don't see that person at all. They're invisible to us. We don't see the people who are doing God's work out there, people who are working and trying to help other people. We just sort of go by and just sort of say, well, they're out there doing their bit. We forget. We don't see them, and we don't appreciate who they are. We're blind to them. And so here comes this crowd down the street, and there's that blind beggar off to the side of the road, and he asks him, who's that? It's Jesus of Nazareth is coming. That one lone voice cries out, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. All of the disciples have been walking along. They've been asking Jesus, not for mercy. They've been asking, can I sit at your right hand or your left hand? Can I do for me whatever I ask? That was the reading last week. Jesus, I want you to do whatever I ask you to do for me. You know, I want to be the greatest. All of that kind of stuff. That's what they're talking about. The blind beggar says, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy. Have mercy on me. People tell him to shut up. Right? You're spoiling the image. Be quiet. And how many times do we see that on the path as Jesus walks? The little children, the people who come up to Jesus, and the disciples say, leave them alone. It's those invisible people crying out. He says, Son of David, Jesus, Son of David. It's a term of the Messiah. None of the people marching along see Jesus as the Son of David. They just see him as Jesus of Nazareth, the guy from up in the north. They don't see him as the Messiah. They don't see it. It's the blind beggar, the one who everyone walks right by, who sees Jesus and identifies him and says, Son of David, have mercy on me. Blind Bartimaeus, it's sort of a funny name, right? I'll call him Blind Bart. But Bartimaeus means son of Timaeus. It's like he doesn't even have a name, right? He doesn't even have a name. It's like, Bob's son. Well, does he have a name? Is he Joe? Is he Pete? No, he's Bob's son, right? Right? That's who he is. He's Timaeus' son. He's Tim's son, right? Right? Bart is Tim's son. Totally invisible. No one pays attention to him. And yet he is the one who cries out, have mercy on me. Jesus says, call him. So they say, come on. Master's calling you. Last week we heard the disciples saying to Jesus, we want you to do whatever we ask of you, right? And Jesus is like, you're missing the point. Today Jesus says to Bartimaeus, what do you want me to do for you? Right? Right? Turns it around. Last week, the disciples are asking. Today Jesus is saying, what can I do for you? Because the Son of Man came to serve and not to be served. Because I want to have my sight. Somehow I think that Bartimaeus already has his sight. He's got supernatural sight. He's able to see who Jesus is. And when Bartimaeus is sitting there along the side of the road and they call him to come, what does he do? He throws off his cloak and runs to Jesus. Right? Have you seen blind people running? Right? No, right? We don't see that. They don't run. Okay? Why? Because they're going to bump into something, right? If you close your eyes, would you run? No. He runs to Jesus. Because he's running by faith and not by sight. He's seeing by faith and not by sight. He's living by faith and not by sight. He leaves everything. He throws off his cloak, probably the only thing he owns, right? The only possession he has, he throws it behind him. How's he going to find that again? And he comes running up to Jesus. Remember, the rich young ruler wouldn't give away his stuff because, right? And it says immediately his eyes were open. He could see. He had his sight. Right? Your faith has made you whole. His faith. Right? His faith. He had faith. All these people are following Jesus. They don't see who Jesus is. They don't see the guy along the side of the road. They're just walking along, and where's their faith? He received his sight, and then Jesus says, "Come and follow me." That's the beginning of discipleship. It's being able to step out in faith. It's to say, Jesus, Son of David, Jesus Christ, Jesus the Messiah. Identify Jesus who he is. And then say, Jesus, have mercy on me. Forgive me, right? Have mercy on me. That's all I want. I want your grace. Pour your grace out on me. I'm a sinner. Save me. Right? And then when he calls you, go running to him. Walking by faith and not by sight. He wants you to step out in faith. Not be worried, not be tentative, but just go out there and have faith. And when your eyes are open, you will begin to see not only who Jesus is, but you will also be able to see the invisible saints of this world. Those people in our midst who are doing the will of God, who have faith, who trust in him. Not just the people who come to church, not just the people who might make themselves look all righteous, not those people who have lots of letters after their name or before their name, the most right reverend, whatever, but people who are doing the will of God. And your eyes are open and you can see that. And you recognize the people around you. You see the beggar now begging. You see the person who's homeless. You see the person who's struggling. You see the clerk in your store who needs to be seen, right? We recognize the people in this church and those people around us who are special to us. Odds are they were invisible to the greater world. That was just that old man who goes and gets the paper. That was just that lady you always see in the store. People just walk by and didn't see what special people these people were. Imagine how many special people you're walking by week after week, right? That's what you got to do. Understand your blindness. Cry out to Jesus. Ask him for mercy. Listen for his voice. Step out in faith to follow him, because he is calling you. Your eyes will be opened when you come to him because your faith has made you whole. And then you will be able to see and use your eyes and see the world and appreciate the world and appreciate all those people out there who are somebody special, and treat them that way. No longer just walk by people in the store and in your job and in your work as just people. Just see them as sons and daughters, people who have something. Doesn't matter what circumstances they are right now. Maybe they're in bad circumstances. Maybe they're in a bad way. Maybe they've gotten themselves into trouble. Maybe they're just all messed up. Maybe they're lost. But they're somebody's kid, right? They're somebody's family.